All right, I guess we didn't do the introduction, so I guess we're gonna skip it for today.
Good morning.
Yeah, exactly. We're getting right to it. Good morning, folks, and thank you for joining us this morning. You gotta love technology when it works, right? So, uh, but fun stuff for sure. How are you this morning, Judy?
I am awesome. I am so ready for a beautiful sunny day. This is going to be great.
There we go. And folks, if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome to the show, Money Truth Moments with our very own money whisperer, Judy Kopenbarger. Make sure that you are following Judy at her website so you can get all of her social media links. And if you have any comments, please let us know as well too. So I'm very excited about today's show. I mean, we've been on since the beginning of January 1st. We've been talking about just families, how to plan for our future. And this is another topic that I think a lot of folks can relate to. And hey, I'll start with me, right? So it applies for not just me, but for everybody. And the topic for today is I've never been good at managing money. Hell, right? So I've got a lot of questions for you. So what do you say we get started?
I am ready. Let's do this.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Like, what are the basic principles of creating a realistic B word budget for that I can stick to?
Yeah, it is the B word. It's kind of like the D word. Diet what you can't have. I want an eating plan, man. Yeah, I want a spending plan. I don't want to talk about budget. What can I spend? What is it a joy to invest in? Housing, my car, my family, the food budget, entertainment, all the things that I need, making sure that I have a cell phone and technology that works. That's all a joy when you invest the money into things that make your life the lifestyle that you choose. So it's not a B word, it's a spending plan, right? It's an
Right.
SP. So there are some basic principles. And for some people, it's kind of like a diet. It's like you do this impossible plan and you get all the food and you prep it and you're going to do really great. And by day two, it's like, it's boring. I hate this stuff, right? And so you
Yeah.
quit. And the same thing happens for people when they're doing financial planning, a spending plan. It's like, I need something that works, something that I can stick to, something that I'm excited about when I wake up. And I like to tell people, especially young people, when you gamify it, it really is helpful. And that works for me. It's like I will win a game. I have that competitive thing. Don't tell me I can't do it because that's all I need for my challenge, right?
Right.
I'm working out at this great gym. I've got a trainer, and the thing is, you got one more in you, you got two more in you, and it's like, don't even ask. You tell me what you think I can't do, and I'm going to make it happen.
Right.
So, for any of you that have that, this might really be helpful to gamify it. There are some great apps you can put right there on your phone. There are some great things you can put on your devices, download. I mean, you can do spreadsheets if you want. I don't have time to sit around and do spreadsheets, but I know people that love them. And it's a good challenge for them. And that's their game, getting it right, getting everything in the right box. But there are some very simple apps. Some of them are kind of like you're in the red, you're in the green for each category that you set up. My food, all the flexible expenses, my food, my gas, my entertainment, the things that you could spend more or less in a month if you need to. And it'll say you're in the red. If your budget was 400 for that item, you're at 380 or you're only at 200. You got 10 days to go. You're doing okay. So that might make it feel like a game. And then it's a challenge. All you have to do is win the game every week or every month. Try that.
No, that's actually a great idea. I think the
Yeah.
more fun you make it, the better it is, as opposed to like the dreaded, oh, I got to do this now, whatever.
Yeah. Or what
Um,
you can't do, I think is worse.
right.
Depriving
Yeah.
yourself. It feels worse. It's like I work so hard and I can't even get a new handbag or a new set of shoes, or I can't go get pizza and feel good about it. So you got to make it fun.
Yeah. So we're talking about real being realistic, right? So one of the key things also that comes with when you're talking about budget, when you're trying to build your wealth and so forth, it's the good old credit score, right?
Mhm.
So one
Yep.
question that came up is how can we start to improve our credit rating and make, even though we've made financial mistakes in the past?
Oh, yeah, I love that. Well, there's two questions I think in your question. One is how do I fix it when I messed up? And the
Hmm.
other one is how do I improve my score because I want to get the good rates, when I go to buy a car or I go to rent an apartment or go to buy a house. How do I get the best rates, the best interest rates, and pay the least money for those monthly expenses? So I'll answer the first one first. So the first one is if you've messed up, In fact, I've got a meeting today at 12 o'clock with a client that I worked with for a short time years ago. And he's come back and he says, now my life has changed. We got him all ready to go and invested and all that stuff. But he has gone through some education and some things like that. So he's got some debt that wasn't there before. So he wants to be really smart about how he eliminates that debt. And we've got some great podcasts. We've got some great YouTube videos on just that subject. We've also got some great videos on how to improve your credit rating, your credit score. There are several companies that do that for us, even when we're not looking. They're always checking, are we a good risk or not to borrow money? So you want to make sure that you've got that credit score as high as possible. And it's not intuitive. So you might want to do a deep dive if this is an area that you're really working on. If you're really in 6 months or a year, if you really want to get that score up for something that you're a major purchase or something, there's technology to it. But the short answer is it is a science and it's not intuitive. So one thing people will say, well, I've got 8 credit cards. I only want to have 2 because I've heard if you have too many, it's not good. Well, the mistake there might be you cancel 2 cards that you've had for 10 years and you keep a couple of cards that you haven't had for very long. That reduces your credit score. So it gets rid of some of that ratio, that debt ratio that's available, which is true. And that is one of the markers. But it also says, oh, this guy only has, 3 or 4 years of history when you had 10 already and you got rid of it. So it's not intuitive how you do that. And you don't want to have a whole bunch of credit cards and not have any debt on it and not ever carry any debt, because what they're looking for, one of the markers is, do you pay on time? Well, if you pay everything off every month, you're not paying on time. You don't have anything that you're carrying. So it would be smarter if you're going to charge $500. You don't want to pay it off one time. You want to pay it off $100 over 5 months. And it's true, you're likely to pay some interest. Now, right now, there's so many interest-free cards. You can get out of paying interest if you're smart about it. But you want to show that history that you can pay on time and that you are a good risk that way. So there are several things you can do there. I encourage you to look at the YouTube videos that explain all of that from the horse's mouth, from the rating agencies, the ratio and how much weight they put toward each of those markers. But that'll really help you. So hopefully that's helpful.
No, that's some great wisdom you're sharing with us too, because a lot of folks, you have families that sometimes you have the one credit card and they just pay it off every month. But when you're talking about this, spreading it out that way, that makes total sense. And I think it's actually more important too to talk about this, because our youth that's watching as well too, they're getting out there. A lot of them are getting ready to graduate for the summer and heading into college and all that, which we'll talk about that at another show. But it's very important, I think, what you just mentioned as well too. So let's move on to you've discussed buckets before, right? And you've talked about the different buckets and the different things that we need to do. So another question that's come up is, how much of our income should we be allocating towards savings and towards maybe emergency funds?
Well, they're two different things in my mind. So you talk about a bucket. One of your buckets is your cash reserves. That's your emergency fund, your rainy day. What if, the garbage disposal breaks or I get a flat tire and I have to replace it? So where does that come from? You always want to have a bucket for that. Otherwise, you're going to end up using credit cards, which might be more costly for you because there's the interest, right? So you want to have that cash reserve. So that bucket should always have like a reserve in it. And maybe it's 2 months, maybe it's 3 months of your basic expenses. So just 2 or 3x, whatever you can survive on. And make sure you always have at least that amount in savings. That will help you avoid charge interest to you later. That's one thing. The other thing is make sure that you are saving regularly. I always say pay yourself first. Every month we put away money for giving. We put away money for taxes. We put away money for housing. We spend money on gas and our cell phone bills and all of that stuff. Let's make sure that we make the list. Let's pay ourselves. That's how you're going to have the reserves that you need. You're going to have the cash that you need for your short-term goals, your mid-range goals, and even long-term. Like if you're 30, you're thinking retirement's like 100 years away. It comes quicker than you think, right?
Right.
So you want to put a little bit, time is your friend, put a little bit in each one of those buckets. And then you're thinking, okay, you're talking about this B, the budget. You're talking about the spending plan. It's already tight. Judy, where am I going to find that money? It's not like you have to find hundreds and thousands of dollars every month. Maybe you can do that, but you want to start somewhere. It's more about the habit. It's more about the discipline and the planning than about how much money you have. So if you tell yourselves, I'm going to do $5 a week, $10 a week, maybe $50 a month, whatever it is, but I'm going to put it in the envelope. I'm going to put it in that account that I DNT, do not touch, right? I have a do not touch account. That's for later money. You got now money, sooner money, and later money. So you always want to have money going in each one of those allocations, even if it's a very small amount. It's the discipline of it, because things will change. Even if it's tight now, maybe you're rebooting, maybe you're rebuilding, maybe you're just starting out. Like, where is it supposed to come from? I'm barely making my rent, right? Over time, that will change. You'll get raises, you'll upgrade your job, you'll maybe start a business or have a side hustle where more income's coming in. Maybe you marry well and now you've got two incomes coming in. Put your kids to work, whatever it takes. That income will change. Your expenses will also change. And I know sometimes you're sitting there, I've been there, where you're sitting there and you feel like I'm in the bottom of this pit. I'm looking up and I can kind of see some light way at the top of the hole, but I'm in the bottom of it. How will I get out? It just seems hopeless. And it's not always just financial. There are things in life where we just get to that point. It's like, you know what? I need a rope. I need
Right.
somebody to help me out of this thing. I just don't see it. So I'm offering the rope. Pardon me. I'm offering some help, some hope, some technology, some checklist, some step-by-step instructions that you can grab onto, that you can hang on to and use, and just one step at a time, dig yourself out. It's possible. Even when you talk about, we were talking a little bit about I've gotten myself into credit card debt, or, I've got student loans that have come due, and I've got a car loan, and I own I have a couple credit cards, and I even borrowed money from my relatives. How am I going to get out of that? You can, little steps at a time. You be intentional, you make a plan, and then you just operate the plan. Even if it's a 2, 3, 5-year plan, at some point you will look back and go, wow, that wasn't so bad. I'm actually out and I'm in the light again. It can happen. So if you're in that tough spot, have hope, do the thing, right? Be disciplined about it, and don't feel like you're just making little baby steps, because that's how you start, and that trajectory will increase. If you're in a really great place, you look around and you say, well, I'm not in debt. I don't really need to help people who who are, but there are causes that I care about, and maybe I can help them. Maybe I can make a difference in my community. Maybe I can make a difference in the world. There are causes that I care about. There are values that I share with other people. And there are things that I can do with the money that I have once you're there in the light, right? When you're not digging out. So that, I got a little philosophical there, but have hope, use the technology, do the thing, and then do it with intention, do it with discipline, and you will get there.
So something that just popped in my mind as you're talking about this, there seems to be quite a bit of emotion when it comes to finances, when it comes to
You
budgeting,
think?
right?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it can make or break couples, it can make or break families, and so forth.
Yeah.
So, in your experience, what would you say? What would be the best advice when you feel really, you talked about some of the strategies on it, but what additional words can you share with folks about that feeling overwhelmed in debt, right?
Mhm.
What's your advice to? Because I'm sure you've shared before stories about couples or families that come into this, the emotions are just going off the rate, off the charts.
Yeah.
So, what's your best advice to tell folks that are listening now, like how to handle that overwhelmed emotion when it comes to debt?
Yeah. Well, it can be an emotional thing because money is such a powerful tool, and tools can be really helpful. They can just, they can multiply the power of what you're doing, what you're building, which is a great thing. And so we're emotional high. It's great. We can do all these things. We have all these choices, all these opportunities. Money can also be a tool that you use against people. And I see this sometimes in marriages. My goal is always marital harmony, family harmony. And I see money used against people, sometimes it's siblings. If we're dealing with an inheritance, we're doing some estate planning and somebody's passed away. Now they're fighting, squabbling over that stuff. That's usually not about the money or the IRA or the big investment accounts. That's usually about sibling issues that were there since they were toddlers. You never let me play with your ball. It's all of that. But I see it also in families, parents that want to raise their kids a certain way, and the kids think they're entitled to a little bit more. there's that friction. And I see it with couples where there's that friction, and it's a tool that can be used. You make too much money. Well, you spend too much money, or you make not enough money, right? You spend, it's never you make too much money. I haven't seen that one, but you spend too much, and then you have all this friction, all this fighting about that. Usually it's not about the money issue. It's about a power thing, or it's about um, a confidence thing, or it's about issues from childhood even. But it shows up in money because we use money every day. There's not any day that goes by, maybe one or two, not very many, where you don't spend money or have a bill come due or have to write a check or go to the ATM or pick up groceries or put gas in your car. Almost every day there's an exchange of cash somewhere. So that is an easy way to measure if you're doing well or not, and if you're angry or not. So that was a lot to say, but it is a very emotional thing. And I think your question was, how do we calm that? How do we bring harmony to the place? And I think it's having a plan, having a strategy. It starts with the outcome in mind. What is the goal here? Do we want to save? What does it mean for me to save? What does it mean for you to save? If we don't have that number that is in coordination, I think $500 is good. You think $2,000 is good. And we're somewhere in the middle. We're both unhappy. So why don't we agree on what it is, do the plan, and then we can celebrate the successes along the way. So there's so many resources that I've got available for you here. There's YouTube videos. There's a whole Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. Go there. And if you have an issue around the spending plan, the budget, that B word, if there's something around how you allocate money going out, that can really be helpful. Because we always allocate money coming in. We put it in this account or that account. We make sure the expenses, are going to get covered. But we don't always allocate how it goes out. And that goes back to the spending plan, making sure you're on the list. And if you're in a decision-making mode with other people, your spouse, maybe your extended family, maybe adult children, and you're doing money together, business partners, right? Anyone you're doing it with, you want to get together on the same page, figure out what the numbers should be, and work toward that. It's a moving, breathing thing, right? It doesn't have to be perfect every month. It won't be, because things happen. Yeah. But it's a moving, breathing thing that you can work toward and have a lot of success if you just get the intention and then work toward that.
Awesome, folks. And if you're just joining us, please watch the beginning of the show. We are discussing today, I've never been good at managing money. So there's been a lot of great content, a lot of great tips from Judy as well, too. And some of the discussions that we've had. Also remember that Money Truth Moments is Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. with the replay on Thursdays at 8 p.m. as well. And if you're not following Judy, please do so at judykopenbarger.today for all relevant news of today. So with that said, it's coming time for You Know What? This is going to be a big one for the challenge. So I'm just dying to know what you're going to come up with on this.
It's not that big. I'm going to say it's simple but not easy, right? I wouldn't say it's bigger or smaller. I'd say simple but not easy. Let's take two topics that we kind of explored a little bit today. One is your credit score, and one is your cash reserves. So your challenge this week is to explore both of those and see what you could do more, better, different to improve that part of your financial life. So the credit score, what could I do? Do I have too many credit cards? Do I need to add a good one? Am I paying too much for the interest? Can I negotiate those or move them to an interest-free card until that's gone, to save money, more money for the rest of the spending plan. So get a handle on your interest. If you are really underwater and you're looking way up at that light that's so far away at the top of this pit that you're in, call the credit card companies and negotiate with them. They will listen. If you say, look, I've got this much money a month I can spend. Here's how much my minimum payments are. I can't do it. I need you to give me some relief on the interest or some relief on the principal. Usually they'll give you something, maybe not principal unless you're really in trouble. And then you might need to get some professional help. But they will almost always give you a reprieve on the interest rates. There's plenty of wiggle room there. So call and ask and say, I can't pay the $400 a month, but I could pay you $300. Can we do that and renegotiate that construct? You can do that. So that's what you can do for your credit score. Whatever you can do to get it from 6 to 700, 7 to 800 plus. I mean, that would be awesome. And if you're digging out, it might take, 6 months or a year to get there, but it happens faster than you think. That's your first challenge. The second challenge is just take a look at your cash reserves. How much do you have in that bucket? How much do you need? And I would challenge you to have 3 months of your basic fixed expenses in that bucket and never touch it. DNT, right? Do not touch that bucket. So that's going to be your cash reserves that you go to instead of grabbing a credit card when those things happen that we know will. We don't know what is going to happen or when it's going to happen, but we know they will happen. So be ready when that happens. So get your cash reserves. First, determine what it should be, and then work to get it there. If you feel like, oh, it's going to be a while, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year before I can get that number there, then plan what you need to do each week or each month or each paycheck to get there. And then just do the plan. And it's kind of like when you need to protect your calendar, you write it on your calendar and then you mark it in red and then you highlight it and then you put a box around it and then you put a fence on it and then you put barbed wire and explosives. It's like, that's going to happen. That's my family time. Don't mess with it. That's my gym time. Don't mess with it. That's my piano practice time. Don't mess with it. We need to do the same thing with the money that is allocated for a specific purpose. Just protect it and DNT it. Do not touch it. Leave it there for that purpose and just make it a discipline. And you can do this. That's your challenge. Make it a great week.
All right, folks. Thank you for joining us. We are out of time. We will see you guys next Tuesday at 8 a.m. And as always, please follow Judy at judykopenbarger.today. Send us a message. I'm sure she will love to hear from you, get some feedback, how some of these topics have been helping you as well with you and your family as well. Until next week, Judy, good seeing you. Take care.
All right. Thanks, Carlos. Bye-bye.